Fred helped us look at where we live from a bioregional perspective. One of the first projects they did was make up a map of what our bioregion is. And that's what this map is. So this little inverted V here is New Haven Harbor. So all of this colored area is our bioregion. And you can think of it loosely as the headwaters of the rivers that supply the New Haven Harbor, plus the area where the historical people lived before the white people came. So that includes the headwaters of the Quinnipiac River, which extend up into Meriden, and the headwaters of the West River, which extend up into Bethany Woodbridge. They're all part of our bioregion. And if you think about rain falling within that area, as long as that rain runs across the surface, it's going to end up in this harbor for the most part. So one of my interests is in water quality, and one of my favorite things to do is see where streams go. And I remember one of the first projects I did in the West River was to trace the route of the West River from Beaver Pond Park down to the West River Memorial Park. And it was actually quite fun because we bury our creeks and our rivers. That's historically what we've done. So this is a map supplied by the East Haven Historical Society to me. It's quite old. It's from the 1800s. And the areas in blue are water, so this is the harbor. I just want to orient you a little bit. This is Saltonstall Lake, and this is where we are here, Morris Creek area.
Hold it so you can point.
Yeah, that would be good. So this is Tuttle Creek right here. The airport's, here's the divider between New Haven and East Haven. So the airport is roughly right in here, just to help you orient. So this is the Boston Post Road here, this black line. And this is the Tomlinson Bridge, and that was the harbor before they dredged and filled it. This was Longweir Pier. And this was kind of like the main route out here, but this was all farmland originally, and the farmers down here wanted to be connected up here, so they built a road called Morris Causeway that actually crosses this area that connects to Thompson Avenue. That's all gone now because of the airport. This is swamp, so this area north of Boston Post Road is a swamp. This is the ridge where Fairhaven Heights starts. So the swamp is water that's from underground, I guess. It's just a wetland, basically. Right in this space here is where New Haven Terminal built their storage tanks. So if you look at a Google map, you'll see 15 bright white circles, and those are fuel storage that connects over to the harbor by direct fuel line. And online it says that they handle 1.8 million, they can store 1.8 million barrels of fuel, which is a huge amount. There's supposed to be a road into there from Saltonstall Parkway by Home Depot, and you look in there and it's all rusted. You know, there's bays in there for where the trucks are supposed to offload the fuel from the tanks and distribute them. And so I called them up and I said, you know, I never see anything going in and out, and all the truck bays are rusty and the tank is rusty. Are you still using this? And man, they got super defensive. I had to give my social security number just about. And I just said, we don't talk about that. And so if you ever find anything out, it'd be interesting. But
the DEP should know.
yeah, so here's the swamp. Here's Boston Post Road. So the freeway, when the freeway was built in the 50s and 60s, they built it right across the swamp. So the freeway goes between the railroad and Boston Post Road. And Home Depot's right here, CarMax is right there. All of that impervious surface falls into the Tuttle River right before it goes under the freeway. So what they've done is gathered all the fluid, and then they created this culvert that goes under the freeway, under Saltonstall, and emerges on the other side by Sunoco Station. And it really looks dirty. I mean, it's brown and rusty colored. It doesn't smell, but it's not pleasant looking, I can tell you. And once it gets on the other side of the freeway, it flows into this swamp, the remnant of the swamp that they left, that they didn't fill in or build on. And that's a wetland. East Haven knows that's a wetland. It belongs to the McDermott car dealership, and their place drains into that same wetland as also. So that wetland gathers all of the impervious runoff from this freeway system, from the asphalt parking lots, from all the shopping centers. and it somehow converts it into something that looks a little cleaner. From there, the creek goes underground again because you're in the parking lot for Expect Discount by the bowling alley and by Goodies. You know that area? It comes out to be above ground, about kind of opposite the bowling alley, bowling lanes. And you'll see like a strip of trees. And you walk over there and there's kind of a ravine where the creek is. And there's some shopping carts and other debris down there. But the water flows under Boston Post Road, flows through residential area now, some apartment buildings along Garish. There's a place where they built a school in the 1950s. It's an elementary school. They buried the creek again. They covered it over. And then on the other side of the school property, it comes up again. So now we're getting into the airport territory. So this is roughly Dudge Avenue, became Dudge Avenue. So the airport expanded, and what they did was they moved the Dodge Avenue up this way. They made the creek go underground as soon as it hit the property and go over this way. They put in 3 huge storage tanks to hold rainwater in case it rained too hard. And then they moved the creek over more. And then this goes down by the airport. This is all wetland again, originally, but it's not now. And I put in this because I live here. And the Townsend Estate, I don't know if you know that building, but right before the hill is a natural little creek. I don't know what the name is, but on the Townsend property, it's above ground. And then as soon as it hits the border of that property, it goes underground, and it stays underground all the way toward the airport, all the way to here, which is that place where the terminal is, and that, you know, that grassy area that's kind of low. It says no trespassing. That creek is flowing under there, and it flows into the creek through a culvert. So it's completely underground. It joins Morris Creek here. There used to be another river that came down this way and joined Morris Creek, but it's been filled in. And so basically what we have is this creek now going down the airport, and some of the changes they made down here were to what they called straightened it out. So they took the curve out, and to replace the wetlands that they used, they said they cut finger channels in the saltwater portion. So if you look at Google Earth, you'll see stripes. And I think it's, you know, similar to what they did when they made channels for draining salt marshes for mosquito control years ago. You'll see that out in Guilford, you know, some of the other salt marshes, they're permanent. You know, so once you dig channels in this old salt marsh stuff, it's permanent. The other thing that they've done is to create, so they're very concerned about flooding their runway. They don't want the runway to flood. So they have drainage ditches on both sides of the runway that divert the water either toward Morris Creek and out, or toward this way, which gradually drains out. So by the time it gets down to the tide gates here, you know, it's traveled quite a distance, and it's much cleaner than it was up here. And to me, it's fascinating because you have this little discrete system. You have all this, you know, car, petroleum, exhaust, you know, road type pollution coming into a wetland. As it leaves the wetland, it's changed. It goes through residential areas. It's not, you know, maybe people put fertilizer on the lawn, so you have an opportunity to see what does that do to the water. And then down here, it's pretty much clear all the way down. But, you know, I think, who was it? Bill Root did some study that I wasn't able to find, but apparently it's at FES in the 80s or 90s, according to his wife, that measured water quality along Morris Creek. And I think it would be very, very interesting because it is a very fixed little environment, and there's different things that happen to different sections of it. So that was my little interesting thing that I learned. The tide gates are down here, and when there's a storm coming, the airport controls the tide gates always, but if there's a storm coming, they open the tide gates and they try to drain as much water out of here as they can in preparation for the storm. The engineering office at East Haven told me at the last storm we had, there was a minor flooding, 2 to 3 inches. He said it was much less than they thought there would be, and the reason he said was because of the retention things that they built up here. So basically the retention things hold fresh water that's coming down from above. But that storm didn't have a lot of rain. It had wind-driven storm surge, you know, so that's a different situation. But anyway, I think, you know, in the 50s when we buried the creek, we were still rearranging it. We're still rearranging it. You know, we still are deciding, oh, let's move it here, let's do this, let's cover it up, let's make a ditch, let's, you know, shove it over. It's just, we haven't really changed a lot, even though we respect wetlands a little bit more than we did. But anyone have questions?
So there's a tidal gate further up here?
I think so, yeah.
Yes, there are. There's they're right up, or maybe quarter mile further up that way.
Go ahead.
Can anyone like paddle up
To the tidal
to the
source.
gates but not past it?
Well, you
Yeah.
can.